Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to Digital Dialogue. Today, we have Mr. Abhijit Dey, the Vice President Product Head of Axis Bank. And today, we'll be conversing with him about the changing landscape of retail banking and how APIs are contributing as a key force in changing the course. Thank you so much, Mr. Dey, to be there with us today on the show.
Thanks, Pratik, and everyone from Strategy for having me here. Right, it's an honor for me to be in such esteemed platform and share my personal views on the said topic.
Yeah. So to start off, Abhijit, with the rise of fintech startups and tech giants entering the financial service space, how do you foresee the traditional retail banking to stay competitive?
See, historically, if we see all these traditional banking players, right, and the other private banking players, we are here for last, couple of years, right, and we are here. We are serving our purpose, and we are serving the entire nation. And all these new disruptions happening for last couple of years on the fintech or the startup space, right? I see these are mm, welcome approach, right? Because eventually you will have to grow, and you will have to grow within an ecosystem only, right? And the moment you are growing, it's your responsibility also to help the ecosystem to grow, right? Now, earlier about if you have to think about banking, right? Banking means only few banks. Then the number of banks also increased in last couple of years. We have seen couple of banks who perform well, but mostly all the banks, they have performed well and they have sustained in their roadmap. Similarly, with these fintechs coming up, right? It's a collaborative approach, right? I don't believe fintech think in this way that they will be working silo, because I personally have seen many fintechs, or probably almost all the fintechs, they're doing some strategic partnership with banks, right? Even banks are also very interested to do this partnership with them, right? And commonly in a joint roadmap, we are building up the new ecosystem, right? So with this fintech revolution, or this fintech, all this bootstrapping and all, right, we can see a good number of customer acquisition happening in our end, right? At the same time, we are serving our customers in a much better way with the help of these fintechs. And at the end of the day, if we think about the financial inclusion and all, which we have seen in last couple of years, um, without this fintech or without the help of this fintech, right, uh, we cannot achieve the 100% target which we have for the financial inclusion, right? So it's not a competition, and my opinion is more like a collaboration, right? And how soon you can collaborate with others, right? That's the competition, right?
Okay. Great. So considering the important aspect which you mentioned about inclusion and working in a collaborative way, how about including the underserved or the unserved population of, or say unbanked population of India? How about reaching to these genres?
See, we all know that underbanked or unbanked population in India is not a very small number, right? And considering the demography of a 1.5 billion population, uh, reaching to each and every one, right? It's really impossible for everyone, right? But if we see the digitization, what happened in last 3-4 years, especially post COVID era, what we have seen that almost all the banks, not almost all the banks, are having their own digital premises where they are onboarding customer digitally. We have seen lots of welcome approach in terms of KYC and all from the central bank. We have seen video KYC came up. We have seen digital onboarding happening even for the corporate. As a matter of fact, we recently have started onboarding our corporate in our API ecosystem in digital way, right? Which itself is a uh, first in the industry approach, right? Now, uh, the more we digitize our product, the more we digitize our platform, the financial inclusion will increase. Because earlier, if you see the number of internet user, and today the number of internet users, right, across any age group or any segment of the society, the number of internet user has increased, and probably I mean, you are from the researching agency, you know that what will be that 10x or 100x, what is it? But it has increased enormously, right? Now, this actually helps us to educate our customer to onboard and to serve the entire banking in a digital way. And not only that, onboarding, right? If you see the customer servicing or customer experience, post onboarding services, which we call returning service. For example, you book a FD digitally with us. After that, you don't have to go to branch for serving any of the service related queries, right? You can digitally check everything like through your mobile banking app or internet banking app and WhatsApp banking also. Now, these are the avenues through which we are increasing the financial inclusion ratio, right? And digital is I mean, I'm not saying that digital or physical, it's more like a digital way, because traditional physical branches will remain, right? I mean, I personally believe that no way we can dissolve these branches, right? Because it is a matter of money, where sentiment, that empathy is needed, where our physical presence is also needed. But when it's related to query or onboarding, right? At that time, we need this digital presence. So digital is the way through which we can increase that financial inclusion.
So, as you said, that the evolution of the digital landscape, where internet is aiding to this digital aspect of financing, the brick and mortar, the physical branches will also say. So, how will you envision these branches in context of digital innovation, and what would be the key role apart from just the generic transactional aspect within the branches?
In my humble opinion, if I see physical branches, right, uh, for last 3 years, rather, number of physical branches are growing, and it's the trend in the industry. It's not about the bank which I'm serving or the bank which I have served earlier, right? It's a trend. The number of branches are increasing, but at the same time, the digital adoption through branch network or through branch channel, that has also increased. So let's say there is a pseudo location, a semi-urban or rural location, where a customer is coming to a branch and he's saying, I want to open a FD. Branch people are not indulging him to do a physical FD or some documented FD or paper documented FD to open. Rather, what they say is, sir, we are having a digital premise here. Why don't you go and do this transaction of yourself? I am there to help you. I am there to assist you, right? So, not only the self-assisted journey, which customer himself can do, also the assisted journey, there the physical branches are helping. So it's a again collaboration between physical and the digital world of the bank, where we are helping customer to do the digital onboarding completely, or we are helping them to complete the journey in digital way, so that the physical contact will be lesser, right? And in a way, we are educating our customer, right? And it's all about creating a psychology through which we can earn the confidence, we can gain the trust of the customer, right? So that's why I believe that physical branches will there, and physical branches will help us to digitize our product and digitize our product adoption.
Okay. And with open banking initiatives gaining traction across the financial sector, how do you assess APIs shaping the future of retail banking and fostering the innovation in the industry?
See, historically, again, open is not a new thing, right? Although in 2018, we have seen European Union or in UK, the PSD2 norms and all came. But the use case, if I see, in India, we already have started by 2016 when that UPI first launched, right? And digital payment or instant payment, that is the key, right? If uh, if core banking was the uh, revolution which we have seen in the year between 2001 to 2010, then in my opinion, this digital payment or instant payment without paying any charges we are doing today, that's the another revolution. And you have seen there are many countries of the world, they have started adopting our UPI payment process. In fact, there are many people there showing their trust on us about this unified payment interface, right? And if I have to consider, or if I have to compare with any other country's payment ecosystem, the digital payment ecosystem which our country is having today, it has, right? We are much ahead in terms of digital payment. Now, how this all happened? This all happened by this open banking mentality. See, open banking for me, it's a thought process. It's a psychology where you are very much open to leverage your technology, leverage your capability to share with others, right? And increase the adoption. So that's why I do believe that APIs, that those are the keys to do this open banking piece to be a successful one, right? For example, if you see in any payment app, you can check the balances in a native experience. There are many, for example, account aggregator. Just imagine using the account aggregator process, we can link our bank accounts into a different bank mobile banking app. So the way we are showing the openness, the way we are uh, breaking the barriers, we are putting, and definitely we are putting all of our security measures, right? Maybe later on we can discuss about the security, but today, if I see the way we are extending and externalizing our services and we are welcoming people, right? If I have to go back to your first question, that this fintech revolution, without this open banking thought process, you couldn't do this, right? If a fintech is coming up and saying, hey, we want to source lending product for you, can you give me a couple of your APIs so that I can have the native journey which you have today in your app? The same thing I want to have in my own digital app. Without open banking or API banking, you couldn't do this, right? So APIs are most critical one in open banking, and the more critical is the thought process, right? And thankfully, I can safely say all of the banks, they are very open about their thoughts on the open banking thing, and that's what we are seeing today. The number of collaborations is happening. These all are the outcome of this thought process.
Mhm. Sure. Very well, as you said, that even the banks have a very open mind around it. And I think API is one thing which needs, or say, this facilitation of collaboration and partnership with the traditional bank and fintech banks, along with the third party service providers. So, how do you look upon to this entire collaboration process within the retail banking ecosystem?
The collaboration between, sorry, can you please?
How do you foresee this collaboration between the traditional banking, the fintechs, or even the third-party service providers within this retail banking ecosystem?
Yeah. See, again, it's like today, if we have to go back to 15, 20 years ago, right? Probably that time I was in school, right? I used to see my dad whenever he needs to do some banking stuff, right? He needs to go to a particular branch of a particular PSU bank, right? Then later on, we came to know some core banking thing kind of a revolution happened, and my dad can go to any branch of that particular bank, right? Then we in 2004 2005 most probably we came to know that there are new concept of internet banking has come, through which my dad doesn't need to go to any branch. He can do the banking through internet. Then this internet banking migrated to mobile banking. Now you can do banking, you can do financial transaction through any payment app, right? To transfer a fund, to make some payment, you did not to be completely dependent upon your bank, right? There are third-party apps, there are UPI apps through which you can make the payment, right? Not only that, earlier the cashback offers and other kinds of offer on your financial transaction used to get from the banks only, right? Now you are getting these offers from multiple other payment apps also. You are getting discounts and all, right? So this is a complete ecosystem, right? Where the traditional banks are supporting the backbone, where the fintechs, they are building the ecosystem, and the payment apps, those third-party payment apps, they are helping you to make the payment, right? And all these three components, all these three players are monitored and coordinated via the framework given by the central banking agency and NPCI. So it's a complete ecosystem, right? Through which I believe the freedom. Even today, if I have to make a 10 rupees payment, I don't have to pay any charge, right? I can make the payment very freely. If I have to consider any other countries who are very modern in their thought process. They are also to make a payment, you need to take their charge, right? So here everything is free through this open ecosystem. So I do believe this ecosystem where all these three players and the custodian of this entire ecosystem, the way we are building it, it's enormous and it's very helpful for the customer. And there are multiple other innovations coming up. For example, credit and all you will be getting in the UPI channel or all these payment app, right? This will help us to include this, increase the financial inclusion, also the digitization, right? And people will be very much aware. See, awareness and education is very important, right? People, the more they will be aware of this entire ecosystem, more they will be aware about the digital transaction. The frauds and all will also be very less, right? So it's a complete ecosystem. It's a complete bouquet which we all are building today.
Okay. And whenever we talk about the banking aspect, the two key aspects which right away gets triggered is data privacy and security. They are so critical to the banking industry. So how can retail banks ensure the protection of consumer data with the APIs being there, which shares the data, and while delivering all these personalized and seamless digital experiences?
See, if you see, since we have decided that we will be externalizing our APIs to third parties, right? And we will be initiating journeys for our customers from a third party app, right? Eventually, they may come to our app and do the rest of the transaction, but the initiation will happen from any third party app, which is outside my own banking ecosystem, right? We have started building a framework since then. We have built one governance framework through which we have certain criteria. Those criteria has to be matched by that fintech, by that API consumer. Then only we'll be sharing this APIs with them. And we do a complete checkup. We do a complete checkup before we go live, and we have a periodic checkup also over there. We do a proper what do you call assessment of their system, right? If there are any vulnerabilities, we cite it out. We ask them to make the changes and all. We do a audit in every stipulated time, right? In a stipulated period of time. So how we are ensuring. And see, if I have to see, if I have to go back to the previous question and say that there are three components, right? If you see, out of these three components, banks are the oldest one. So definitely banks are having more data than other companies, right? Than the other players. And it is definitely our responsibility to ensure that there shouldn't be any data leakage or there shouldn't be any abuse of data. So sometimes we have to be very stringent on our policy, and I do support that thought process. And I know that all the banks are very stringent about their data policy, right? We cannot share any customer data without any proper consent or without any proper use case. Even if we share the data, there are enough checks and balances to protect the data, right? So that's how we are building it. The governance, the framework, we have our lots of technologies being implemented here. Coming days, there are many more technologies, some AI empowered technologies also will use to protect this data within our ecosystem, right? So this is how we are envisaging this entire thought process of cybersecurity.
Okay. And if I had to ask, with all these API integration, the fintechs coming with new innovations, completely thinking out of the box, how do you foresee things for retail banking in, say, next 5 years?
Retail banking in next 5 years.
Like, what's your thought, or so how do you foresee with the ongoing innovation going in the industry?
The innovation will not say that 100% of the innovation will achieve. Innovation is again a thought process and is ever evolving, right? Innovation has no end, right? So this innovation will, and we can see, I can tell you on the number, right? The financial inclusion which we have seen in last maybe in next 5 years, this will be 3 times the one which we have seen in last few years, right? Because again, the awareness among the customer, the awareness about the digital journeys, the awareness about the digital properties, it has increased among the customers, and they are now very keen to use those applications. They are very keen to do the transaction digitally, right? So that's why I think this digital adoption in the retail banking, it will increase. And not only in retail banking, Pratik, if you see in corporate banking also, the adoption in digital transaction has increased, right? If you see lots of other transaction banking use cases, almost all the use cases are around digital on, right? Nowadays, corporate, they want to open their account digitally. They want to do their financial transaction digitally, right? They don't want to restrict themselves to do this digital transaction from their own ecosystem. I mean, from the banking ecosystem. They want to carry out this transaction from their own ERPs through, I mean, again, API is a use case and open banking is another use case for them, right? So this API consumption, that API adoption has also increased in corporate. And if corporate is increasing, the end user of the corporates are the retail. So that will also be increasing, right? So that's how I believe that innovation will be there for next 5 years, definitely. But the digital adoption will be much higher. I mean, we can't even imagine the number. It will be so.
Great. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for sharing your expert opinion and thoughts about the subject matter. It was great having you today.
Thank you. My pleasure.